All right, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, it is Friday, Black Friday, and it's time for the Behind Enemy Lines segment. Probably going to be hearing a lot from this guy in the next few weeks because the Steelers and Bengals are going to be going head to head. I welcome Brandon Herriott, who you may have heard on the homies. They call him B Dirt. What's up, B Dirt? How's it going?
It's going good, Jeff. It's going good. Staying busy, watching a lot of football. Been going to a lot of football games. So getting ready for this cold weather here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You live in the 412, which is pretty funny and humorous at times, but still nonetheless a Bengals
Yeah.
fan through and through. Look, I got to ask you, y'all have had about 10 next game. What is the vibe like in the fan base right now with Burrow being done for the year? And what are they? What does that's my gauge. Is I don't really care about the players. The players are going to play hard no matter what. What are the fans thinking right now?
There is a definitely a vast majority out there that are talking about. I've already seen mock drafts go
Oh
up
man.
with who we're going to draft and stuff. So there's been a lot of guys just go ahead and punt on the season. I'm pretty obviously not what we want, right?
Yeah.
But I'm kind of excited to see. I think they're going to see some more of what the young guys can do now. Um, I like our defense is developing in that back end secondary after losing both of our safeties. I really feel like we're doing a good job of rotating guys in now, and Dax Hill I think looks like he's going to be the real deal to me. So.
Where do you stand on that though? And I know you just said that you're excited for the young guys and all that, and that's great. But what about the season outlook now that Joe Burrow's done? Like where do you stand? Yeah, you're going to see the young guys. Yes, you want to kind of take a look at what that looks like for obvious reasons for the future. But what about the rest of this season? What's your take?
Tempered expectations.
Yeah,
I really expected to still be able, and we were ahead in the game against the Ravens when
yeah,
Burrow gets injured. So
that's
I
true.
was really expecting still to be, even with a slow start, competing for the division championship. Now, I I doubt we make it to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I really the only way we could, I think, is if you see a change in some of the coaching philosophy. We have been way too pass happy all season. Um, so I think we got to run the ball and set up the pass off of the run versus what we've been doing, which is just pass and then set up the pass on the pass and then
Yeah.
pass some more. So I'd like to see us do that and get back to, I don't know, a change in mentality, you know?
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. Now, before we leave the Burrow stuff, and there's a lot to talk about this upcoming game that doesn't involve Joe Burrow, obviously. Have we had an official diagnosis of his injury yet?
Torn ligament in his wrist.
So it's wrist. So definitely in the wrist. We
Yeah.
don't know, like, what would do it have? Is it going to require surgery?
Um, all they have not officially said that, but everyone said is it's likely to require surgery.
Okay.
Um,
And is timetable to return? He'll be ready for 2024.
yes, that's
Okay,
what it's pointing at now.
got it. Things can
Out for the
change.
rest of the season, but should be good for next year.
Okay. Interesting. Now, tell me a little bit about this backup quarterback. Well, what do we have here? The new starter now for at least for the foreseeable future. What are the Bengals looking at the quarterback position? Because you still have those weapons. I don't know. I'm assuming T. Higgins should be healthy enough to play on Sunday. Still have Jamar Chase. Still have Tyler Boyd. Still have a really good core at wide receiver. But what about the quarterback?
So Jake Browning out of Washington.
Yep.
The fun part to me is our right tackle Jonah Williams and him actually played together in high school and won the California State Championship together.
No,
So
that's
they're
pretty cool.
reunited.
Yeah.
Um, he broke basically every passing record in Washington history. He's very mobile. Um, he has a pretty good arm. Doesn't read the field quite like Joe Burrow. He's kind of a one read, two read run kind of guy more.
Yep.
Um, but Joe Burrow even said they have very like-minded demeanors. They're very calm. They're very cool under duress and under fire. So he, says they plan on him getting better every game, right? With game reps and seeing that speed. but obviously does not have the proven NFL pedigree
Right.
that you would like from a seasoned backup. So it's shooting blind. I mean, we may get decent backup play, and we may get some rough backup play. We don't know what to expect, really.
Yeah, and so anytime you have a backup quarterback, just like if you have a rookie quarterback, you want to lean on the run and you want to hope that your defense can stand tall. Let's talk about the running game for a little bit. Joe Mixon is, in my opinion, still a premier back in the league. But like you mentioned earlier, I didn't feel like they were using him a lot. And if anything, they used him more in the passing game. Joe Mixon is still a very good talent. I've watched a lot of Bengals games because they've played at different times than the Steelers this year.
Yeah.
And or do they have the offensive line that's capable of, hey, let's lean on this and let's really grind it out on the ground?
All right. So, personal opinion on this one. I really feel like we set up the offensive line for failure in what they're good at blocking scheme wise
Mhm.
and what we asked them to do scheme wise a lot of times. So, at the beginning of the year, Burrow is, a wounded duck. So, he was shotgun only. He wasn't under center. So now you're running that zone wide blocking and
Yeah.
more of that kind of stuff with our offensive line, who are a bunch of big thumpers and not fleet of foot kind of pulling guys. That's not really their style. Where I've seen more success is when we've been able to get under center and run a more traditional between the tackles 2-on-1 blocking and a wham block, those kind of things. And unfortunately, we fall in love with that toss sweep out of the shotgun, or I think we've had one positive run with that all year, and for whatever reason, that's kind of I see it 3 or 4 times a game, and I just cringe every time I see it. It's just terrible. But I feel like we could be effective. I feel like I don't think we're a 5.5 yard a carry offensive line, but I feel like we could be a 4.123
Yeah.
offensive line, be an effective offensive line if we ran the right scheme consistently.
Yeah, and then that's really important. Like you say, there's a staple in your offense that's clearly not working, and yet they continue to have it be a staple in the offense. It doesn't make much sense. As Steeler fans that just fired their offensive coordinator, we know all about that stuff. So you don't need to tell us. But let's go to the other side of the ball. I'm really curious about the defense. You talked about the safeties, Von Bell and Jesse Bates gone in free agency.
Mhm.
You've got a young back end. Obviously, Steeler fans know about Mike Hilton. What is the health of that defensive secondary? How are they looking? And what is it that they do the best in terms of the defensive unit as a whole?
Um, well, health wise, we have Sam Hubbard questionable. Right, he's coming back off of his calf injury. 2 years in a row, he's dealt with some kind of a nagging calf injury.
Mhm.
Um, so not sure there. The problem is on our defensive line, we're very thin. So as soon as we don't have Trey Hendrickson or Sam Hubbard, the rest of the guys aren't really able to put pressure on the quarterback, plug that defensive run. So that I worry about. And the backfield that you were asking about, our biggest glaring weakness was Nick Scott. And last week, Jordan Battle played, actually led the team in tackles. Not ideal, obviously, to have a safety
No.
lead a team in tackles. You'd rather have a linebacker doing it, get that level forward, making more tackles. But he has a nose for the ball. He's around the ball a lot. He, even as a rookie, doesn't seem to be caught out of alignment or get burnt. So far, he hasn't had
Yeah.
that happen to him. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he plays. Very good instincts. At corner, Cam Taylor-Britt is who he is. I honestly reminds me a little bit of Porter Jr. and their styles. They're a little bit
Okay.
handsy. They're going to get called for
Mhm.
some penalties here and there. They're a little bit brash. They're going to take some risks. That's how those two corners play. I'm okay with it. I love it. You know what I mean? Like, go get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, Mike Hilton is one of the better, slot corners that we have. Cheeto Awuzie, coming back from an ACL injury, has not quite been Cheeto. He's been picked on a little bit, Even shared some time with DJ Turner, the rookie out of Michigan. DJ Turner looks great on 5 plays, and on 6 play, he gets caught out of position.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers really, I think, took advantage of a couple of his plays. But overall, good for a rookie, not quite good enough to be your starter on day one in the NFL. And Cheeto quite hasn't gotten past that hump of recovering from that knee.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier in the show, you all have an extended break after the Thursday night game against Baltimore. I know that you're probably hoping to get a lot of healthy players back and things like that. And so I was really curious what the line was going to be for this game. As of this being recorded, the Steelers are actually 1-point favorites on the road in Cincinnati at Paycor Stadium with an over-under. Let me double check this real quick. With an over-under of 34.5. 34.5. So first and foremost, what do you think of that line?
Well, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's a pick'em game. So at 1 point is
like it, yeah.
pretty much close. It's not obviously not the matchup we wanted to have at quarterback, but I expect the Steelers to come out and play hard with, kind of that galvanizing the team when something happens, like letting a coach go for the first time since the 40s. That's
1941. Yeah. Midseason, when they let him go midseason.
Yep. So I expect them, and listen, you guys have a well-coached team. Find a way to put points on the board, even if it's defensive. I think it's going to be a tough game. But the over-under, Jeff, I got to be honest with you. I don't know if you listen to Pay Dirt or not, but we've been betting the under on every Steelers game and every Iowa Hawkeyes game all year.
And they share a uniform scheme too, so that fits.
Yeah.
You probably won a lot of bets if you're betting the under with the Steelers because they
I think we've lost 2. So we're 11. Okay. I think we're 19-2 or 20-2, something like that. Yeah.
That's a hell of a record.
Just keep betting the under every 1 unit on the under on both those games every week blindly.
So we'll get to a prediction here in a second, but do you think it follows suit, this game in and of itself, that it's under the 34.5 line?
Yeah, I do. I think it's going to be 20-10.
Man, I hope not. I hope the Steelers get a little bit of an injection of life after firing Matt Canada, and they maybe have a little bit more of the players' say, so to speak, in the game plan, the scheme, and things like that. But let me ask you, how do you think this game's going to play out? How do you see that happening at Paycor? You might see the Bengals getting a big win for them, and how do you see it playing out?
Well, I know everybody's down. Watching how deflated just the sidelines looked after Burrow got hurt and went out. I know there's an extra week for Browning to play with the number ones and whatever. I look at it this way. If 2 teams are fairly evenly matched, I normally go to quarterbacks versus quarterback first. If those are pretty evenly matched, who's got the best player on the field? I call it TJ Watt. So I probably have the Steelers going down to Cincinnati and stealing one.
Wow. Okay. Do you have a score or not yet? Too early.
I would probably say somewhere in that 17-13 range. I have a low scoring game.
Oh gosh. I'm so sick of those games. The Steelers have been in nothing but those games this year, but I'm sure that's the way that it's going to trend again, and it's going to continue down that path. It drives me up a wall. But nonetheless, I appreciate that's an honest opinion, and a lot of people that I have on this show and this segment to talk about the upcoming game, they're like me, like they're homers. They're always going to pick their team, but this is a really tough spot for the Bengals. And I know Zach Taylor's he's a good coach. They're a well-coached team. I think this is going to be really close. There's no way in hell I'm thinking the Bengals are just going to give up. And they're just going to say, well, hey, Burrow's out. We're done. Let's pack it in and let's call it a season. Maybe we'll get a good draft pick. I don't think that's it at all. I've got a lot of respect for that team. I think it's going to be a tough game. And, when you talk about X factors, Mike Hilton just always seems to make plays against Pittsburgh, his former team. So I wouldn't be shocked if he makes another one there again. But
Yeah.
any final thoughts about this game?
Yeah, I also know T. Higgins is questionable as we film this.
Okay.
So is Cam Taylor-Britt. So with those guys, especially T. Higgins being in a contract year, with Joe Burrow out, I don't expect him to play unless he's tip top. So
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough
yeah,
situation. And you got to understand it from a player's perspective as well, why he would maybe say like, what am I doing?
yeah.
What am I risking
Are you risking
my
a
next
big
contract for?
injury and
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, he's looking at 20 million plus is what he's asking for.
Cheese and rice. Okay, that's a hefty thing. Hey,
Yeah.
he'll get it. He'll get it. I look at what
From
Christian
someone.
Kirk. Yeah, Christian Kirk. What he got in Jacksonville was a huge deal, and T Higgins is better than he was. So,
Yeah.
take it for what it's worth. Okay, Brandon, I appreciate you taking the time. Go ahead and plug your podcast network, what you all are doing over there, running through the jungle, and as well as where people can find you on social media.
Yeah, Running Through the Jungle. We have the tagline here at Harriott Brandon on Running Through the Jungle on X, Twitter.
Yep.
I have a hard time still saying X. But yeah, we're Chase Younts, myself, Tim Lyons, Justin Lacey. We've got a lot of things going on over there. We're trying to get it up to have something on every day of the week, kind of like the Steel Curtain Network. But
There you go.
you gotta build up to it.
That's right.
It seems like real life here. Like the Bengals are trying to catch up with the Steelers. Start trying to get that, trying to get to where your status is, but we're struggling. But we're plugging away. We do the Running Through the Jungle. We got Strange Love. We do the crossover
Hmm.
whenever we can find somebody available to do those. Those are a lot of fun. And then we have the roaring reactions for the post game. So a lot of stuff going
Oh,
on.
hey, plug this week's Strange Love on your podcast platform so Steeler fans might head over there and listen.
Strange Love. You find it Spotify. You can find it on Apple, Google, wherever you get your podcast. It's on the Running Through the Jungle Network. We are having my guy Kevin Tate Boy Fresh,
Yes.
from the Homies podcast that we do together. He actually is the reason why I'm in here doing this. I had me guest on the Know It Alls podcast, and along came everything else. Right.
That's all it
So we're
takes.
having him on to chop it up. He and I have actually been to a Steelers Bengals game together, so we're pretty
That's awesome.
familiar with how we are as fans.
That's awesome. Well, make sure you check out Brandon and all the stuff he's doing over there Running Through the Jungle. Brandon, I appreciate you taking the time, man. Good luck this game. We'll be talking in a couple weeks, so stay tuned.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
No problem.